Hello and welcome. Our first topic that we're going to cover in this class is RP1, which actually stands for Ratios and Proportions, Topic 1. And so that's just kind of the coding that we use on our system, and just a bunch of different standards that we're going to be covering, and lots of different stuff we'll be learning within this area of ratios and proportions. Okay, this is just kind of a basic introduction, and I'm going to go through some different slides with you real quick. This is where my classroom used to be. These are portables. We no longer have portables. Instead, now we have like a whole wing right here. Anyway, we'll go out. What makes sense is to go out this gate and either go this way or this way. They haven't decided which way to send us yet. So if we have a fire drill, this is probably the most important thing. Stay as a class, stay together. We'll take attendance once we get out there. And so, if we have a fire drill here within, the next few days, you'll hopefully know what to do going out our doors, and we're going to kind of either go this way or that way. They'll give us more details on where we are supposed to evacuate to, but stay together. That's the big idea. All right. Okay, here are some notes. The word ratio is used in order to compare at least two different quantities. Sometimes you compare more than two quantities, but a ratio is typically saying this is compared to this, and it's just a simple comparison between two things. Sometimes you compare part to whole, and sometimes you compare part to part. All right, and we'll give you some examples here in just a sec. Like 4 tennis balls to 5 baseballs. It's a part to a part. 5 baseballs to 4 tennis balls, all right? We sometimes use the word just to in order to make a comparison, all right? Starting out pretty basic, but we write it up to 3 different ways that we can write it. We can use the word to, like that. We can use a colon in the middle, just 2 dots, in order to emphasize that relationship, okay? But the order matters. 4 to 5 has to be written this way, in that order. Or we can write it as a fraction. You see 4 over 5 like that? That is also represents 4 to 5. And that would be talking about, like, say, this relationship. And you have to do it in the order that the words are presented. All right? So let's take a look at next example. Let's take a look at this. Ratios are just a way to compare things. Something as silly as these dinosaurs. A purple to orange dinosaur would be like 4 to 2. And you could write it this way. Whoa, that was weird. You could write it this way. You could write it this way. Like, say, orange to purple. You got to think about the words. We have 2 orange for 4 purple. 4 purple. You could actually simplify that down, and you could actually say that there's 1 orange for every 2 purple as well. You could kind of simplify that relationship down. Ratio of orange to purple could be written this way too, with words, or with a fraction, or with a colon, right, like that. 3 ways to write it. Okay, Amhad's mom prepares a plate for 5 peaches. We always have to read for important information. Try to read the whole text first and try to figure out, okay, what are they trying to tell me? What's important? And what am I trying to figure out? Okay, in this case, 5 peaches, 4 apples. For the 6 students in Amhad's study group, sometimes there's extra information. I'm not sure we're completely concerned with the study group information. What is the ratio of fruit to students? Well, I know there are 6 students total, and how much fruit? Well, I can see in this diagram, this is called a tape diagram, and it just kind of has symbols that represent 1 student, 2 students, 3 students, 4 students, 5 students, 6 students. Okay, and you can see all of the fruit. Now, we don't care if it's 5 peaches and 4 apples necessarily, because how much do we have altogether when we are looking for, look at the words, think about the wording in this, total fruit. It doesn't say total, but it wants the total fruit. And so it would actually be 5 plus 4 equals 9. 9 pieces of fruit in this case. Okay, so 9 pieces of fruit, and you can see them all right here. So it would actually be in that order. Fruit to students would be written like this: 9 pieces of fruit for every 6 students. All right, 9 here, 6 there. Okay, you could write it that way. You could write it this way: 9 to 6. Or you could use words: 9 to 6, like that. 3 different ways we can write it. All right. You can see the book, the way that they answer it here. They use more wording in their solution. I'm using verbal. I like to write it with some written as well. Add 5 plus 4 equals 9. There are 9 pieces of fruit in all. There are 6 students. The ratio of students fruit to students is 9 to 6. The ratio can also be written like this: 9 to 6 and 9 to 6. All right. Next example. Here we go. Some really silly examples with first place, second place, and third place ribbons. Kaya received 3 ribbons at swim meets. What is the ratio of, or these ribbons, not 3, of first place ribbons, first, to, look for that magic word 2, third place ribbons. Okay, so here's all my firsts. There are actually 4 first place ribbons and 3 third place ribbons. I don't really care about the second place ones because it says first place to third place. So my ratio would be written like this: 4 to 3, or 4 to 3, or 4 to 3, right, like that. 3 different ways you could write it. All right, we're almost done. Okay, here's another question. They're going on a field trip. Mrs. Powell's class voted on where to go for a field trip. The museum receives 11 votes, and 16 students voted to go to the aquarium. So here's aquarium, 16. Read for important information. You got to dissect all of the words because it's quite a large paragraph with a lot of information. So 11 votes for the museum. All right. Use the numbers and words to write a ratio of votes for the aquarium to, there's that magic 2 word, museum. Okay, so it's aquarium to museum. That's the comparison that we're trying to make. Okay, so which one pairs up with aquarium? 16 students voted to go to the aquarium. So 16 students, aquarium. 11 students wanted to go to the museum. The order does matter. So you have to pair up the symbols, or the number of students that want to go to the aquarium versus the 11 students that want to go to the museum. You have to dissect the whole paragraph and make sure you're doing it in the right order. And order absolutely does matter. Read the aquarium to museum statement at the very end. All right, here's our next. Here's an example that's, they might ask you to do this, and it says sometimes to write a word example for each ratio. So you could come up with apples and oranges and marbles and whatever you want to think about. I'm looking at whiteboard markers. So I'm going to say there are 9 red markers for every, or the ratio of red markers to green ones, or you could say there are 9 red markers for every, that's another way to say it, for every 3 green. That's one way to say it. How about this one? You can come up with anything you want on ones like this. An example, use some words, right? And the wording could sound like this: 1 bird for every 5 lizards. whatever you want to come up with, right? Honestly, there's one yearbook, or the ratio of yearbooks to students is 1 to 5. You could say it like that as well. The ratio of pencils to pens in your backpack is 1 to 5. It's just a relationship between two quantities. All right, here we go. Almost done. What about this one? Example 4, roses, carnations, and daffodils. All right, a florist makes a bouquet using 4 roses, 5 carnations, and 3 daffodils. All right, so you can see each of those numbers right there. 4 roses. Maybe we'll use red for roses. All right, maybe we'll do blue carnations, and daffodils will be yellow. I don't know what they are, but something like that. All right, what is the ratio of roses? There, we're looking for roses, and there's that magic word, to the total. Okay, so now we have to add them all up. Well, there are 4 and 5, and there are 3 over here. So technically it's 4 plus 5 plus 3 to get the total. 9, 10, 11, 12. So that equals 12 flowers total. All right, that's total flowers. And what's my ratio I'm looking for? Roses to the total. 4 roses, there's my semicolon, or my colon, to the total, which is 12. Or I could write it like this, 4 to 12. Could reduce it, and it would be 1/3, 1 over 3. You could reduce it, which just would mean that there's 1 rose for every 3 flowers overall. And that could be true. Or you could say it like this, 4 to 12. What is the total number